It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to shows and read reviews online at wcbe.org.
I'm John DeSando.
I'm Jordan Hanalami.
And this is It's Movie Time.
All right.
You know, a white tiger.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe once a year do you ever see one.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So
So we have a film called The White Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
What's this about, Jordan?
Well, it's a, I guess a relatively simple tale that's been told for many years at its bones of a someone absent of I guess lower down in the pecking order of the class system in the world with which he lives, in this case India, and has aspirations for bigger things, and it's his root. This is what movies have been for decades and decades.
Well, we have, we have certainly our own class structure,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing as rigid as this caste system in India, as it is narrated by our hero, who is, as you said, rising up. Well, it got to be a most difficult thing. I know we're talking. It's coming from the novel by Aravind Adiga.
Yeah, and as I said, when I said, movies have been, I should have said stories long before movies.
Right.
This story has been something this general story has been something that's been around for a long time. So
Well, he won the Booker Prize for this novel back in the turn of our century.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jordan, I'm wondering if things have changed somewhat in the 20 years or not. I guess that's not important for the film. We're talking about the film, but I'm just thinking on the side. Because my gosh, the difficulty of rising out of that, what we would call a ghetto.
yeah, it feels very much like it's taken down to really two. It feels like just two groups, the haves and the have-nots.
Yes.
And it's the haves, seem to have everything, and the have-nots, it's almost like a what's the point, feeling.
And really, while this is sometimes billed as a comedy, and I think there are comic moments.
Yeah, this movie goes. It has a lot of different stuff going on in it, as far as it's very stylistic. It hits you right up front. It's very, the style, the production is very. There's definitely some money in this, and there's definitely a lot of design elements and stylistically with the camera and everything. So there's a lot of that, but you're right. It is funny at times. It is heart-wrenching at times. It's just some really some bouts of just kind of random, really intense violence.
Well, yeah, I mean, Balram, our hero, works for a family that is corrupt, but very wealthy.
Yeah.
So their bags of money they carry around to give to politicians so they don't have to pay taxes.
Yeah, and he's essentially assigned to that family, I guess. It seems like out of the people, just servants get assigned to different groups, or different families, or individuals.
He spies Ashok, the younger member of the family, and says that he's going to work for him.
Yeah.
And becoming a driver is apparently a way that you can improve your lot. And so he becomes a driver for that family. And there are two parts to that family. There's the older, more staid, tougher side, Dad, and then younger Ashok representing the younger generation, which, with Pinky, his wife, a voluptuous woman.
Gorgeous.
Yes, from a little bit, well, let me see. Both of them educated in the U.S.? I think.
I think so, yeah.
So there would seem to be a progressive couple. And things seem to go very well, but it's not going to happen in this film that it's going to go well. So eventually, his situation with them has to change because he's a slave.
And yeah, that's a good note about the seemingly progressive nature of the couple, because it really kind of bears out that one is and one isn't.
I know.
One is and one is very much rooted still in the in that class structure and the living within that. So it's probably good to note just so people have a little bit of an idea. This main character is told as a young kid that there's a bit of a speech about the white tiger and the rarity of that. You're given that symbolism of how difficult it is for someone to rise up from that lower class structure.
Yes.
And he is kind of in a random moment in a classroom bestowed to be believed by this teacher to be of that
Yes.
Amount of character, I guess, to be able to do
And
that.
intelligence.
Yeah, intelligence. Yeah.
Gives him a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
life is tough. Dad
Right.
has
Right.
consumption or something like that.
Yeah.
Dad has and is debilitated, so he has to help the family.
Mm-hmm.
He
And
can't
that's
go to
and that's a
school.
big thing with especially with those. I guess it's in family. You see the dynamic in both ways, where you see how the rich family that he serves helps each other.
Yes.
In these different ways that they are steadfastly have each other's back, and then also within the main character's family, with him sending money and stuff like that they're all, they send him a kid,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. They're all.
That's a nice parallel. You have both families working for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing we can infer from this is that family structure is very strong in
Yeah.
India. As the caste system is strong, so is the family. And grandma, who's not nice at all about our hero leaving, is to make sure he sends the money back to the
Yeah.
family.
Right.
She's a tough lady.
She is, and I think that she's a good example of just a random example of how within this movie, I don't even really know if I'm rooting for anybody. Like,
That's great.
The main character is very much, there's some first person, there's some, breaking of the fourth wall and
Yes.
stuff within the movie.
Yeah.
So you're definitely, he is very clearly the central focus of the movie.
Yeah.
But I obviously feel for anyone stuck in those situations to be able to climb out and stuff, but he still does some things, and there's still some things there that I'm not crazy about and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that that's really an important part of the charm of both the novel and this movie is that you do get to sympathize with the characters, even though Balram is in the end he has a bad boy side to him.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he's got that roguish part that you gotta love and the biggest smile in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not totally lovable as our hero in Slumdog.
Yeah, and that's a movie
Dev
that's
Patel,
going to be comparative, obviously for American audiences. That haven't experienced a great deal of Indian culture in their films and
Yes.
stuff. Slumdog is going to be a big comparison, and they even make a sly reference
Yeah,
in the
they do.
movie where he says something about there's no amount of you can't win a bunch of jewels on a game show to get out of this situation, something along those lines, and so they're definitely aware of self-aware in that way within it, and so yeah, it is interesting, but I would say the decision that he has to make. What he has to put on the line in order to ascend to where he where he wants to be is that I don't know that I've ever seen a bigger sacrifice, like a bigger thing that I don't know if sacrifice is the right word, but it's a decision like that is not one that I've seen in very many movies.
No, yes.
It's a very intense thing to have to
And I
allow
think
to happen.
his major act in ascending to where he gets his drivers at the end, where he becomes a little bit like his own boss,
Yeah.
is catastrophic for everybody, except for him.
Yeah.
And in the end, his character arc I really like because he is a bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
Although he has enlisted our sympathy throughout because of his struggle
Mm-hmm.
to get out of his poverty.
Yeah.
As
You certainly, and you clearly know that he is both determined and has the wit about him to
Yes.
do some of that stuff, which is from an American system of like ascension within pull yourself up by the bootstraps, I guess,
Yes.
is the big phrase.
Yeah.
And he definitely, I think people will admire some of his efforts in that area.
Yeah, and you reminded me, there's certainly probably many American films in which somebody who pulls himself up.
And on that, and within that as well, this film is definitely, while it's Indian and it definitely is very intentionally tying to some current American political issues and
yes,
stuff. There's
right.
Socialism is on the fringes of
Oh, that's
the
right.
story.
Yes,
The battle against that, and there's definitely some things within this that are tying into some American stuff as well.
So you're not going to be caught in a film where you're going to feel totally left out, because you are going to identify with many of the struggles here.
And it switches, but for those who have the unfortunate phobia of subtitles and such, the film does go back and forth. There's the narration is in English. A lot of the film is English, but there is subtitles and stuff as well, which everyone should get good at reading subtitles, because you'll get so many more amazing movies if you.
If anybody, since we're all stuck at home watching our setups are, the one good thing I always remind people is closed captions is terrific. And that's even when it's in English, because you've got people garbling, or if you get a Cockney or something. A closed caption is really a big help. But I would say it's predominantly in English.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right, and I think this is a good movie for those who just don't watch a lot of movies and maybe just get nervous about diving into foreign films. This is kind of a transitional movie that has a very Hollywood style to it.
Yes, but not Bollywood.
Right, exactly.
This is definitely the opposite of Bollywood. There's nothing. Well, there's very little that's too pretty about this.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan Hanalami. The movie is Jordan. The movie is The White Tiger. What grade do you give it?
I think I'm gonna go with a B- on this one.
Okay, and I'm going to give it a B. And we're going to, I hope, recommend it for our audience if they want a different film experience.
I do. While I had some, little issues here and there with it, I think it's definitely a good movie worth seeing and to branch out a little bit.
Tip of our hat to Netflix.
Yes, absolutely. Keeping us alive. Love it.